and gentlemen, welcome to Rebels and Flux. I am your host. My name's Chris Netto. I've been doing this now for a couple episodes, and I'm starting to get the hang of it. Let's see what happens when I bring on this new guest. Andrew Davis is joining me today. Andrew, what's up? How are you doing?
Hey, Mark. Living the dream.
Living the dream.
Yeah.
So tell me, where you at today? Because you are an international man of mystery at some point.
That's right. The man, the myth, the legend. I am in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada, on the Atlantic coast of North America.
Wow, dude, can you give me the GPS coordinates so we can go track you down? All right, let's start off by giving a little bit of information about you, man. Andrew, we met a couple years ago at InfoComm, and we've been Twitter buddies since and doing a lot of the internet stuff on the social media side of the business. So tell me a little bit about the company that you work for and what you do for your company.
Right. So the company I work for is Ignite Collaboration Services. They're headquartered in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, almost several thousand miles from here. So we cover, we do collaboration, Cisco, WebEx, that's kind of our key product line, and we do enterprise installs across the country and even in the United States from time to time. So for them, I am the lead programmer on staff. So I'll do all the heavy integration, bring Crestron in, tie room elements, lighting, and video walls, and anything that the out of the box products then the installers need a little assistance with. So I do that for the entire company.
That's cool, because the out of the box product seems to be taking over a lot of the market, and things that are, out of the box, simple, one SKU. I get it. I am very familiar with the one SKU type products, but there is still a need in AV, and you're proving to us that obviously with your position at the company, that there's still a need for people who actually do programming and that still do integration. Right?
That's right. It's changing, and it's changing fast. Like you mentioned, the out of the box products can do a lot more. There's there's more configuring than programming now, and the senior techs, junior techs can walk in and do pretty much everything until you get into some of the heavier lifting, like I said, video walls for one.
Yeah.
There's no, obviously the out of the box products can't, be designed for every situation. So.
Correct. Yeah. I 100% agree with what you're saying. So I guess let's give you your first tough question. How simple can it be before simple becomes oversimplified?
Now, are you talking from the end user's perspective? I guess
I'm talking about from your perspective.
From my perspective
would be the AV integrator not consultant, but the AV integrator programmer.
Hey,
what I'm getting at is these out of the box systems come with some sort of simple programming, that you just on, off, volume up, down. For the end user, yes, that's what they want to see it, but they will come with a request to integrate a different piece of the hardware into it, and that's where you obviously come in, right?
Well, I find that every end user is different, and that's probably the biggest hurdle to having this one solution fits all. Even from a culture perspective, you go into one customer site and they'll want to see things a certain way, and it seems like it's a consensus, like everybody's agreeing, this is what this button should do and look like, and this is what we want our end users to experience when they go in. And you can go to a similar company down the road and the culture is completely different, and what they're asking for is completely different. So any solution that my company puts into a customer's hands is tailored to them. So yes, we're going to get to a point where one box might be able to get you 90% of the way, but I still think that we're going to be the tailors. We're going to tighten everything up and make sure that what their ROI is what it should be.
100% agree, man. I think that it comes down to culture, and obviously culture, and part of that culture is nomenclature, what they call things. As a former on-site end user guy who was AV, I understood VTC. I understood my favorite term in the video conferencing world was near and far end. That made complete sense to me. It made zero sense to, Bill and marketing, right? Because near and far end, especially at a pharmaceutical company, meant nothing to them. Like, what do you mean? Are you on my end, the near end? Am I the near end? Like, what am I pressing the buttons? There's conflict. I've even gotten to the point, and I don't know if you've ever gotten into something like this before, but I've even gotten into a lengthy, multiple meetings over the color of a light when it was muted.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
So that does exist. I'm not the only crazy person.
That's familiar. I could almost do that walk in my sleep.
The conversation between a blue and a red, a red and a green light, and what they mean when a microphone is on, was a topic of debates that went on for multiple meetings.
Yes, I've had that conversation with several customers, and the results
vary.
Yeah. that's what oversimplification is never going to solve. Is just the different personalities, the different skill sets, and
That's crazy, because that happened to me on a couple different occasions. In the one occasion, I couldn't change the color because that was like, I couldn't say that it's red when it does this and it's green when it does that, because that's basically what it came with. Like, there was no way to change that, even though that the end user did not like the fact that it was red when it was on, and he wanted it to be green because green meant go, right? In a custom ring situation where we added table microphones where we can change, we had the ability to, choose what color was lit. That was a different story. But God, they came from a place where, they were using a telephone that showed red and green, and that's how they knew it. And they wanted it to emulate on this hardware that came out of the box that did it backwards. And I couldn't change it. Like, I physically could not take the phone apart and conferencing system apart to do this. And then when we did a bigger integration, they still wanted to use the phone because they felt comfortable with that piece. And then we finally got to the point where it was like, hey man, we got to bring in these microphones. You guys are complaining about the audio. We got to do these table mics. We can give you light rings. And then it changed again. The whole conversation went to a whole nother level. Amazing what a red and green light will do.
But back to your original question, I think what you're seeing is that vendors are starting to get that customers want that level of customization. They're making these requests. So yes, the out-of-the-box solutions are getting simpler to deploy, but so is the customization.
Yeah.
And vendors are opening up more and more customization. And maybe a programmer's job in 5-10 years from now is going to be less about writing the code and more about steering the conversation. This is what is possible.
It's interesting because you're saying steering the conversations. Programmers typically have not been involved in a lot of the conversations because the programmers program.
Yeah.
Very, very analytical thinking. And when you're thinking in terms of the end user, they can take the information and process that and do what they need to do on a programming side. It's just the way, it's the mentality of a programmer, right? Yeah. You ask for X and I'm going to deliver X, right? But sometimes you got to step in because of common sense. Common sense doesn't say, turn those lights off because you need them for the video, right? I understand you want it darker. This is not it's not a projection.
To be a programmer, have to be the subject matter expert on what every little device can do. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of the natural evolution to, we need to bring in the subject matter expert. What can we do? What can't we do? And it's almost a full-time job for me to keep track of that because of the speed that the technology is changing. It's constantly reading, API, snore, and things like that, just to see, this is new, this is exciting. I want our customers to know that, this option exists now. So that's kind of become my job, to interface with the salespeople and sometimes customers directly about, this is
I have to admit that is very unique to me to hear that and refreshing, because what you're basically saying is that the programmers, as traditional AV people that have been in the industry 20 plus years, will know programmers usually off to the side doing their thing. They were given a needs analysis and a scope of work, and they went about doing that. They show up at the very end to implement the code that they worked on. But what you're talking about is an elevated, evolved version of a program that is now, has gone into the site and now is part of the conversation. Do you feel that in order for programmers to really, have longevity in an industry where everything that is custom is kind of, being packetized and commoditized right now, for longevity purposes and for career purposes, do programmers have to build a skill set that makes them more customer friendly or customer ready?
That's gonna be probably. I think, yes, to answer your first question, for longevity, I think we need to expand our horizons. Right now, we're at a point in the AV, path that, okay, a programmer's job is going to get lighter. So what am I going to do with that other time? And that's one path, is to be customer facing, be more of a solutions engineer, because we know the products better than a lot of the people in the industry, because we're dealing with APIs, and sometimes we're dealing with manufacturers directly over that. So that's one path we can go down, is to be just be the subject matter expert. And the other path would be to look at the way that software is kind of taking over, and everything. The new products are coming out that are more like the programming language is more standard. So you see vendors using like JavaScript and languages like that are new to AV programmers, not so much to the IT people that have been doing this for a while, but I know that we've been saying this for a long time, but the AV IT convergence, it's happening. It's happened, however you want to look at it. So that's the other path. I think we can integration. We're going to be integrating with more and more systems and more IT people. So I think that's another really good launch pad, is to start looking at these, looking at the space and building our skill set around that, just so we can interface with the IT side of things. Yeah.
I'm on to you, Andrew Davis. I see what you did. It's called a segue, right? Segued into the very hot button articles that you've been writing lately. For people that don't know, Andrew has been publishing his own little blog off to the side with Medium, and he put out two kind of very eye-opening, conversation-starting articles that have basically been picked up by some industry magazines as well, or industry publications at that. So tell me about the first article that you had regarding cybersecurity, and why is that important to AV? Because anybody who's read it, obviously it's not the most complicated read, but there is there is a warning shot fired in that. So I would like to hear from your point of view as the
right. So the cybersecurity topic in AV, and it's not just AV. I mean, the cybersecurity thing is starting to be. I mean, I think back a few years and that no one really understood, and maybe today that's still the case. But if you do understand it now, I think a lot of people are still of the mindset that it's not going to happen to me. We're not going to have to deal with this. But as some recent events in the industry have shown, that we're in just as precarious position as any other industry, maybe even more so because of how close we are with the IT industry. So I guess writing the article, which was about how bad a job the AV industry protects itself, and I don't mean integrators or vendors specifically, just the industry.
Don't get me wrong. Integrators are scrappy when they want to, integrators, manufacturers, we all will scrap each other with no problem. We will definitely go, and say one's better than the other. But when it comes to security, all of a sudden,
I think everybody is
to lambs. Like
equally as bad. That was basically what it came down to.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not like I have been doing it right my whole career. This is new stuff, new threats and new dangers, and a lot of it comes from us, being more and more involved with IT. But I mean, we're basically installing equipment in, enterprise spaces or government spaces or residential, if there are any residential listeners that have access to, we're behind the firewalls. We've already, the hardest part of cybersecurity, prevention, we've already passed. So the solutions that we are putting in are basically prime candidates for these kind of vulnerabilities that hackers could say, oh, okay, these guys are in a really good position that we can be inside the network and we can do our poking around from inside. And to make matters worse, a lot of the boxes that we install are, can run scripts, can run programs. So I can program a Crestron box or a AMX box or this or what have you to do malicious things. It's, so if I can, that's not stopping anybody else from doing it.
Yeah, we have a bad habit, and I think to put it into an analogy, we walk into our house and we live in a safe neighborhood, so we leave the door unlocked. Yeah. At some point, somebody can just walk in right behind you. It's the same thing, but you're right. That mentality of it won't happen to me has permeated, pretty much all of our, all of our mindsets. And a lot of it has to do with exactly what you said. We lived behind the firewall for many, many years internally within the AV business. Our job ended at the plate, right? And ended at the wall. How it transported out was somebody else's gig. It was not our thing, right? Because we weren't responsible for the amount of bandwidth that was being used on a video call. We can say you'll have a better call if you used 512 or 1 gig or, don't use 128K ISDN for those who've been around for a while. But once it got to that wall plate and how it went from A to B was not our concern. We just worried about the appliances at the end. And I think that's part of the thing, is that we were very much just a point to point without the middle. And that middle is where now the vulnerabilities are open and the doors are left unlocked. So it was great to read that article, and I'm going to put a link to that article both in our lower third, and then I will do it in our YouTube page as well for people to catch up and see how serious this is. But you know what though? I don't want to have a serious tone, because we got to get to know who you are and why so serious. Right? So let's get going with simple questions.
Okay.
Brush off the home office here. I can't even find where you are located in a map. Canada. Dude, tell me where.
Okay. So
where is this place, and do you have a post office?
So yes, my house, the community I live in is Upper Kingsclear, it's called. I'm in the province of New Brunswick on the east coast of Canada. I can get to the Atlantic Ocean in about 2 hours. But it's funny that you talk about finding us on a map, because so when I was in college, I went to broadcasting school, to radio and TV production at New England School of Communications in Bangor, Maine. Mm-hmm. And 3-hour drive from my house, like not far in terms of, miles or time or anything. I had to go through customs, but really not far. I mean, you can think, what's 3 hours for me? There's a lot. But when I started to, introduce myself to my, the colleagues at school, it was hard enough to explain to them where I lived. It was just a completely different world. It's like I said, oh yeah, no, I'm 3 hours north, or 3 hours kind of northeast of here, and these people look at the map on the wall of the United States, and there's nothing there. we're in the top right corner, buddy. What are you talking? So completely in the woods, and you are a man of the woods. You and Justin Timberlake have something in common. as long as I can get to an airport fairly handy, I think I can survive in this industry. A lot of what I do is remote anyway. So yeah. You are the ultimate remote employee, because there's absolutely no way you're even going to get to a place without getting on a plane.
That's awesome. So you mentioned college and broadcast, both, here we are, we're kindred spirits. We're both communications majors in college. We both graduated with a degree in broadcast communications. We both spent some time on college radio. Tell me about college radio.
That was fun.
Told you
that was what I wanted to do at a high school. Is I wanted to be the radio voice. I wanted to be that guy, and that's a tough industry to be successful in. And it was a bad time too. It's like, when we grew up, radio was huge, and then when I started to go through college, we were dealing with the clear channels and the Cumulus and the
satellite radio.
Satellite radio, voice tracking was a thing. So you weren't listening to the two guys talking on the radio from downtown. You were listening to people that were piped in from Miami or wherever. You weren't getting local content anymore. So yeah, it was what I wanted to do based on my experience to that point. But it just
was it sports radio? Was it college radio music? If so, what kind of format were you dealing with back then?
So our campus station was alt radio, and it was a really cool station, like alt rock. So and it wasn't like a typical college radio station where anybody could go in and listen or to go in and talk. You get your 15 minutes or half an hour of fame, and then you can play whatever you want. We operated like a commercial radio station, and format was alt rock. And really, I'd had limited exposure to that format going in, like maybe Nirvana, and I don't know what else was around in the 90s, Bush and Alanis Morissette and things like that. But after spending a couple of years on the radio, that's kind of my format now. It's what I listen to still.
Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, who's a better singer, Eddie Vedder or somebody else? You can only say Eddie.
I love Chris Cornell. So
I unfortunately didn't see Chris Cornell with Soundgarden and a recent, I guess his last tour. They did a reunion tour for the Super Unknown album, and I got to see them live, and they brought it like as if it was the 90s still. I mean, he was amazing. The band sounded great, and they actually opened up for Nine Inch Nails for all you 90s and 2000 folks that follow that sort of stuff. But cool, man. The other last question I got for you. You live the always on life.
Yes.
So you're one of them workaholic guys that don't, that don't take the time to unplug. But when you do unplug, where does that unplugging happen?
Ooh.
Pumped.
Yeah. Bit of a gamer, but not really. I kind of get in the mood for that, like PC gaming every once in a while, or even Nintendo or stuff like that. Like I have one of those, the Super Nintendo Classics that's about.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. So I can play the games that they always did, and they were great, and they didn't need to change. And
side scrollers.
That's right. That's how games should be. No, I'm kind of interested in this whole VR thing. I think that is very cool. But I haven't got into that yet, so I would like to try that. But
it's got to get a little better, man. You got to get it has to become more immersive to the point where you're escaping, right? And I think that's part of the VR appeal, is that if you're going to do a VR session, you want to escape something, right? You want to be transported from city life to the Caribbean, and you want to kind of be immersed in it better than what it is today.
And I don't think that technology is far away.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Very close. And on that topic, this is stuff that I want to do in my spare time that I don't take. Like the combination of drone flying and VR, that's pretty exciting to me. The not VR, but the headsets and
the sensation of flying. I see where you're going with this, man.
I need to do this. I need to take a vacation right now.
Either that or join the military. I'm sure the military would love to know about,
Hard pass.
Simulations like that.
Much respect. Yeah, I couldn't do what those guys do, and guys and girls do. But yeah, hard pass on the military.
100%, man. It's amazing, and I've been fortunate enough to work for companies that have worked on government projects. Not so much the VR stuff, but simulation environment where you're putting people into the situational awareness of a 360 environment via projection, or to be in that space and see moving things all around you to get you better prepared. Hey man, there's something to be said about where that VR and that virtual reality is, and the AR is coming to that.
Do I have time for a tangent? Can I take that?
Absolutely, go for it, man. We got time for everything.
All right. So the other article I wrote that we didn't really talk on was about software kind of taking over the AV industry. So, and I kind of stopped at where I thought I would probably be able to keep people to the end. But if I were to take that further, I think that VR is going to be in the boardroom someday, or maybe even in place of the boardroom. I don't think I think that future is, maybe it's a little ways out yet, but once we get to a point where VR is photorealistic, and the other thing that is going to help that is the companies that are working on the brain computer interfaces, like Elon Musk, and there's a couple other companies that you can kind of control computers with your thoughts. And it's sci-fi to a lot of people, but not the people that are working with it today. And I think that once these technologies come together, you're going to see it in the commercial AV environment.
So we're finally going to get the Demolition Man conference room set up with the holograms on each side and people sitting at the table kind of thing.
One further, I think that the boardroom, the boardroom's not going to be a real space anymore. The boardroom's going to be completely VR. People are going to join into these meeting rooms that are going to be, created in virtual space and have their meetings in these virtual space boardrooms. I think that's where it's going. You look at the cost of real estate and things like that. And even you look at a business today, you walk through a commercial office building and all the boardrooms are taken. What if you didn't have to worry about that?
Yeah.
What if it was just turning it on? So I really think that that's probably not that far away. People are going to have to get used to wearing something or on their head, or maybe they'll solve that. I don't know, but
I kind of understand where you're going, man. I think that in innovation, and since we're going down this conversation, it was a great article, by the way, as your software eating AV's business. I was going to bring into that in the second episode, but you know what? We'll just have one big one right now. There are pointers when you're talking about innovation. I think there are things out there in the industries that point towards those shifts, right? I think we are as much, and you brought it up, and it's a great point, is that we are as much influenced by real estate and real estate trends, right? The fact that remote work is going out of the office and people are becoming more remote and people are adapting to the remote work lifestyle. The office now footprint shrinks right off the bat. As open space changes things, it is now bringing in ideas like hoteling spaces and places like WeWork pop up, where you work anywhere and you just borrow a space if you need to have that space. I think all these trends with real estate, with architecture, with design influence, they're all feeding into, and then there's the technology side and everything that we bring on the AV side. I think it's all feeding into a bigger push that, yes, you are going to start seeing that VR stuff. And
we aren't the only industry that's talking about IT convergence.
Everybody else is converted. Right.
Or on their way. So that only leaves one thing at the end.
Yeah. And trust me, man, I look at these things and I question, there's a lot of people in our industry that want to be predictors. They'll predict the future, and every future conversation I've ever heard, when you start talking about, audiovisual and bringing in audiovisual people, are very much focused on, technology. Oh, it's 8K. Oh, it's 16K, 24K is on the way, and VR. Okay. What about the applications, right? What about the influences that are coming here? Things that Elon Musk is working on will influence what we're doing, whether we like it or not, right? Whether we want to believe it or not like it or not. A lot of us may like it, some may not. But
the computer brain interface, that's next level.
That's Neuralink stuff is crazy. When I remember conversations regarding wearables, and quickly as people were talking about wearables, a side group started talking about embeddables, right? And now we're starting to go into some weird, like, getting a barcode, on the side of you, and are you man, are you machine, are you cyborg? We are going into a very weird conversation.
Cell phones were sci-fi once. That's basically,
And listen, the expression I think is it's only science fiction until it becomes science fact.
You got it. Yep, you got it.
So we can help prove that. We can help make that happen. And I think a lot of this has to do with the outside forces that AV can't control, right? Such as the architecture firms and the way that they're designing spaces and the people, and generational, right? I have, prior to us going on air, I was talking about, I have a 17-year-old and a 14-year-old who don't know where the dial pad is on their cell phones because they are video first generation. They will FaceTime, house party, FaceTime and house party, because none of the stuff we use, they know. So if I said, hey, why don't you Skype or why don't you Zoom? They're like, what? If it's not a FaceTime, if it's not a house party where they can do multiple people in a chat via this app, that's what they do all day.
Yeah.
They will be ready for business in a whole other way. If we are having a hard time dealing with Gen Z and the millennials as we speak today, like trying to adapt to that, wait until that generation that's coming that doesn't even know what a house phone is or was, right? That is a completely different world of thinking. And my daughter, for example, and I think I've told the story where my daughter was on the phone with her friend and she was leaving the house. I'm like, hey, we're going to be leaving Wi-Fi. Just give her a call from the phone. And her friend goes on the phone. She's like, what do you mean give you a call? I can't see you if I call you. Well, try dialing her. Where do I dial? And this is an iPhone. This is the easiest phone. This is what we model our control systems after.
The phone that we suggested that our grandparents got.
It's not oh man, I remember seeing the commercial on TV about the June bug still, which a June bug still happens, I guess here. It's like the senior citizen phone where it's like the clamshell phone with the numbers, like the size, the phone is like massive. It's like talking like this.
Yeah. They're going to grow up in a world where you ask a voice assistant to do something and it actually does it and doesn't say, I don't understand. So that's wild. That's what they're going to expect.
Mm-hmm. My mom texts me more than she calls me. And I never thought that I would see the day of that. So, hey,
I'm holding out hope for my mother-in-law. Any day now, she'll figure that
out. My mom got on that real quick with how to do that because it's just simpler. The problem is I still have to remind her, you don't have to answer everything, and everything comes with a paragraph, right? There's no shorthand with my mom. It's all, we're going to get a big old, message. And, she's starting to learn how to use emojis, which is great. My kids love that.
Oh, yeah.
So Andrew, thank you so much for stopping by. We're finding out some interesting stuff. I didn't do any rapid fire questions. Maybe I can do that. All I got so far is that Chris Cornell's a better singer than Eddie Vedder, which I think you may be right, although I won't admit it on here, right? So let's just get some quick out of the way questions done.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, go.
And we're going to go Canada style because fortunately you're not the only Canadian person I have interviewed on here. And I won't bring up a name of who that person was. Do you enjoy poutine?
Oh, yes.
What is poutine for the American people that only know it as disco fries?
It started as French fries with gravy and cheese curds, but I think anything with a French fry base now and a protein and some kind of sauce is poutine. I've seen every combination. Yeah.
Has poutine jumped the shark? Is it now like you go to poutine bars and order, like a Baskin Robbins 51 flavors of different things to put on it?
I'm not going to stop eating ice cream and I'm not going to stop eating French fries.
So combine the two and you may have created a brand new product.
Maybe that'd be the point that I stop eating both.
This is to test your Canadian. How Canadian are you, right?
Oh, okay.
How would you say you are on skates?
8.
8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Wow. I finally talked to somebody who actually admits skating. You would think that everybody in Canada was kind of like on skates at some point, but I guess that's the further north or kind of.
I didn't play hockey in school. Most of my friends did. I was more basketball and soccer, but yeah, you had to pick one or the other. So yeah, skating, I'm really good. I can go fast and I can even skate backwards. Stopping, I never really got a great handle. So that's the remaining 2.
Okay. Of these 3 teams, which one do you miss the most? Montreal Expos, Quebec Nordiques, or the Vancouver Grizzlies?
Ooh. So Expos, Grizzlies, or what was the other one? Nordiques. Probably the Nordiques, because that's actually the closest, would be the closest NHL team if it still existed.
So if you are that close, do you have a second language?
Depends on who you ask.
Pig Latin is not one of them.
I can read French very well, and I can write French okay, and I can do the conversational thing. Like if I was lost in Paris,
Quebec.
I could get by. So
I'll give you on the Quebec thing, because they had some pretty cool jerseys, and Guy Lafleur didn't wear a helmet, so kind of badass doesn't play. Who kind of badass plays hockey without a helmet anymore? I think
it was Avalanche now, I think.
Yeah, they went to the Avalanche, and Quebec, I think, has been screaming for an NHL team since they left.
Yeah,
sad days. And the Expos are great. I mean, you had some great teams back in the 80s. Yeah. But anyway, and the Vancouver Grizzlies, I didn't know much about. They kind of came, they kind of went. They drafted a big guy out of Oklahoma for basketball, and then.
Well, Canadians we're all up in the NBA right now. That's we had fans we didn't even know we had.
Do you thank Drake for that, or did you thank?
I don't thank Drake for anything. I no, it was just a great team this year, and we started to see Kawhi go, but no, that was fantastic. It's like you want to see a nation get behind something.
Yeah. Hey man, I was in Orlando watching that happen, and I was impressed how much Toronto Raptor representation was at the local bars in Orlando. I didn't know you guys had that many fans.
We didn't. Half the people cheering don't even know how the game works. It was Toronto. We have the one team, and they're really good, so we're going to pretend that we were fans the whole time. We were the nation of bandwagoners.
Well, and on a positive note, Roy Halladay did get into the Hall of Fame, and I think he went in as a Blue Jay. So spending some time growing up, going to Canada. I had family in Toronto, actually Mississauga to be exact. I used to love going up there, and I'd always come back with I think there's a couple pictures of me, though I'm a Yankee fan, with some Blue Jay caps and stuff like that growing up, because that was a thing. They wanted to turn me into a Blue Jay fan growing up, but I could probably name the starting lineup for the 87 Blue Jays.
I love this. We're really not capturing the rapid fire.
No.
We're getting hung up on every question.
Exactly. There was no rapid fire. Listen, that's the benefit of doing a podcast like this, is that there could be rapid fire, or I can just dig in and just go off on tangents, which you started when you said, I want to go off on a tangent. And next thing you know, we're talking about weird mind control and stuff like that. So this is what makes Rebels and Flux different. Perfect. And that's why I invited you to come on. Andrew, thank you so much for coming on. Where can we find out more information about your company and find out more about you?
Best place to find me is Twitter, Andrew_506. 506 being the area code. And there's been some guesses, but none of them were right. So yeah, Andrew_506. And the company I work for is Ignite Collaboration Services out of Calgary. So it's IgniteCSG.com. Please check them out. We're on Twitter, LinkedIn, all of the above.
And you're on LinkedIn as well, so people can connect with you there?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn.
And your site on Medium as well. Man, I know way too much about you. I'm just bringing it out of you. Anyway,
my business card is this big.
it's one of these cards. Yeah. That's great. Awesome. So thank you, Andrew, for coming by and stopping by, talking to the Rebels and Flux. We love talking to the people that have done things a little different. And in your case, man, you took on some topics of software and service and cybersecurity, and you came out like a boss, you basically set an alarm off that many should be paying attention to. You weren't the first. You won't be the last.
No.
But you know what? As long as you're out there making that noise, that's what matters. And that's what sets people apart. And that kind of makes you a rebel. So kind of dig that.
Yeah. we need more, but then there will be less.
Yeah. I got what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Can't all be
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Chris Netto. I am the host of Rebels in Flux. You can find out more about Rebels in Flux over at synergy-center.com. Starin is the sponsor. You can go to starin.biz. Their information's there as well. You can find me on the Twitters, Chris_Netto, and that's located right here on this lower third. Andrew, thank you so much for coming by. This has been a great, fun-filled, non-conventional Rebels in Flux. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Rebels in Flux.